Once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. Pretty striking words, aren't they?
They really are.
It makes you wonder, how often do we truly pause to consider what it means to live, especially when confronted with life's undeniable endpoint?
It's a huge question. And that's really the profound journey we're embarking on today.
Exactly. We're taking a deep dive into the life lessons of Morrie Schwartz.
Right. The sociology professor whose final months capture in Mitch Albom's, well, incredibly famous memoir, Tuesdays with Morrie, became this powerful guide.
A guide to navigating life with purpose right up to the very end.
And for this deep dive, we've got quite a bit to draw on.
We do. Extensive interviews with Mitch Albom, Ted Koppel too.
Yeah.
Obviously the original book itself, which is key.
And also a lot of reader discussions, reflections, even some critiques, looking at its impact over the years.
Yeah, the whole picture.
So our mission today is really to extract the most insightful nuggets from Morrie's, well, extraordinary experience.
We want to explore not just what he taught, but maybe why these teachings hit home for so many people.
Exactly. Offering you, our listeners, a shortcut perhaps to being truly well-informed about leading a more meaningful life.
Even when facing, life's biggest challenge.
So let's start with Morrie himself. Who was this man?
Well, Morrie Schwartz was definitely more than just a sociology professor at Brandeis. He seems like someone who lived with this infectious zest.
Yeah, that comes through.
I loved reading about his dancing, those dance-free events in Harvard Square. Apparently he'd close his eyes, just totally lost in the music.
In a white T-shirt and black sweatpants, towel around his neck.
Yeah, and just move. Lindying to Jimi Hendrix, waving his arms like his description was an amphetamine-fueled conductor. It wasn't about looking good.
No, it was about feeling it. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? This kind of vibrant, almost defiant playfulness even before the diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What did his earlier life look like? Did that shape him?
Oh, definitely. It seems he cultivated this unique rhythm, this inner joy, pretty early on, despite, well, significant hardships.
Like what?
Morrie grew up in a poor Russian Jewish family in the Bronx, and he lost his mother when he was just 8 years old, a profound loss.
Wow, 8 is so young.
Yeah, and the way he found out, a telegram arrived, but his Russian immigrant father couldn't read it. So little Morrie had to read it himself and basically break the news to himself.
Oh, goodness.
He talked later about the shame he felt at her funeral and how, as a kid, he tried to, make her illness go away by just ignoring it.
That's heartbreaking.
But thankfully, his stepmother, Eva, came into his life the next year. She sounds like the strong, nurturing presence.
Yeah.
And she really instilled in him a love for education, saw it as the only way out of poverty for them. So this mix of loss and then this deep nurturing it absolutely shaped his empathetic worldview and his capacity for joy later on.
That makes sense. It provides context for how someone faces, well, the ultimate turning point with such an unusual perspective.
Which brings us to August 1994, the diagnosis. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS.
And it wasn't sudden, right? It crept up on him.
No, not at all. It started subtly in his 60s. Asthma first, then trouble walking. He mentioned stumbling at a party, falling down some theater steps. He went from needing a cane to a walker.
And ALS, I mean, the reality is just brutal. A neurological illness, no known cure.
That's right. He was given about 2 years to live.
How did he take that news initially?
He described it as feeling like he was dropping into a hole, just watching the world carry on, sun shining, people going about their lives, completely oblivious to this bombshell he'd just received.
That feeling, dropping into a hole, it sounds incredibly isolating. So how did he get from that shock to deciding to make his death his final project? That's such an extraordinary leap.
It really was. It seems that it was a very conscious, profound decision. Morrie just refused to wither away.
He saw how society expected him to react.
Exactly. The shame, the hiding away because his body was failing. He just rejected it, flat out. Instead, he decided to use the time he had left to actively teach, to turn his own suffering into, as he called it, a human textbook.
Wow. So not just accepting fate, but reclaiming it, transforming it into purpose.
Precisely. He knew what society expected: shame about not being able to move, about drooling, about needing help with the most basic things, like, eventually needing someone to wipe his rear end.
Which he said quite openly later.
Yes, he did. But he simply refused to be ashamed. And that refusal, that decision, became the foundation for his whole philosophy going forward.
Which centered a lot on critiquing culture, didn't it?
Very much so. He deeply believed many of us are just sleepwalking through life.
Sleepwalking? How so?
Chasing happiness based on what society tells us matters, being rich, being thin, owning the right car, making a certain amount of money by a certain age, all that external stuff.
Yeah.
He observed pretty sharply that the culture we have does not make people feel good about themselves. It fosters insecurity.
So if the mainstream culture wasn't working, what was Morrie's answer? He didn't just criticize Wright. He offered something else.
Absolutely. His alternative was powerful. If the culture doesn't work, don't buy it. Create your own.
Create your own culture. How did he actually do that? Especially as his physical world got smaller.
He lived it. Instead of just, say, watching TV, which he saw as a kind of brainwashing, always repeating, more is good,
Right.
Morrie cultivated his own cocoon of human activities. He held discussion groups. He took walks with friends for as long as he possibly could.
And the dancing.
Kept dancing to his music, at that Harvard Square church. He even co-founded a project called Greenhouse to provide mental health services for the poor.
So it was about connection and contribution.
Exactly. For Morrie, finding meaning was about, and this is a key quote, devoting yourself to loving others. Devote yourself to your community around you and devote yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning.
And the kicker.
His famous quip, there's nothing in there about a salary.
Huh.
Right.
It's a direct challenge. And it's fascinating to contrast that with where Mitch Albom was before they reconnected.
Oh, completely different worlds at that point. Mitch described himself as being cranked to a fifth gear.
Just chasing fame, money.
Yeah, buried in accomplishments, working constantly, knew no hours, no limits, sometimes sleeping in his clothes, just go, go, go.
And he admitted he ignored mail from Brandeis for years, right? Just assuming it was asking for donations.
Completely wrapped up in that very culture, Morrie was urging us to question.
Which makes Morrie's emphasis on connection even more poignant.
Yeah.
Tell us about his wave and ocean metaphor. That one really sticks with me.
It's beautiful, isn't it? He talks about a little wave, bobbing along happily in the ocean.
Okay.
Then it sees other waves ahead crashing onto the shore, disappearing, and it gets terrified, thinking, oh no, I'm going to be nothing.
That fear of annihilation.
Right. But then another wave comes along and says, you don't understand. You're not a wave. You're part of the ocean. And Morrie connected that directly to himself. I'm not a wave. I'm part of humanity. Facing his own death, he found comfort not in denial, but in seeing it as a transformation, being part of something larger, eternal.
That interconnectedness.
Yeah.
It suggests we're never truly separate, even when we feel most alone.
Exactly. Our individual wave is always part of that vast ocean of humanity.
And that naturally leads to his core message, maybe his most urgent one.
I think so. To really invest in the human family. To build, as he put it, your own little community of those you love and who love you.
He had that quote he'd whisper, didn't he? About needing others.
Yes. In the beginning of life, when we are infants, we need others to survive. At the end of life, you need others to survive.
In between, we need others as well. It's not just at the start and finish. It's constant.
Absolutely. It's woven through everything. Which brings us right to the importance of family.
He quoted the poet Auden, didn't he? Love each other or perish.
Yes. And Morrie's own words. Without love, we are birds with broken wings. He felt nothing else, not money, not fame, provides that deep spiritual security like family does.
He talked about his own marriage, too. 44 years with Charlotte.
He did. Built on respect, compromise, open communication, shared values. He knew firsthand that your spouse is the one there on those tough nights when you're coughing and can't sleep. That kind of unwavering support.
It's that bedrock connection.
Yeah.
Now, another really fascinating lesson was his approach to difficult emotions. Fear, grief.
Yeah, this was quite unique. He didn't say ignore them or push them down, quite the opposite.
What did he advise?
Turn on the faucet, he'd say. Wash yourself with the emotion. Let the fear, the grief, the loneliness, whatever it is, penetrate you fully. Really feel it.
Okay, feel it fully. But then, because you can't stay there.
Right, that's the crucial second step.
Yeah.
Detach from them.
Detach. What does that mean exactly? Is it ignoring it after all?
No, not ignoring. It's more like experiencing it completely allows you to then step back and say, okay, that was fear. It's just fear. I don't have to let it control me.
So experience, acknowledge, then regain perspective.
Precisely. And he practiced this. He described how he'd allow himself a period of mourning, a good cry in the mornings for his failing body. He acknowledged the loss.
But he didn't dwell there all day.
No. Then he'd consciously shift his focus to all the good things still in my life. Primarily the people who came to visit him, the connections he still had. He set, as he put it, a daily limit on self-pity.
A daily limit on self-pity. That sounds incredibly disciplined. But honestly, for most of us, isn't that easier said than done? Detaching from grief or fear, especially facing something like ALS. How do you really do that without just suppressing it?
That's a fair question. I think it really boils down to conscious practice. Morrie wasn't advocating for bottling things up, but for observing the emotion without letting it totally define you or dictate everything.
So it's like noticing the weather rather than becoming the storm.
That's a good way to put it. By setting that daily limit, he created a boundary. He let the feeling pass through, acknowledged it, but then actively chose to shift his focus. It's about regaining a sense of agency. You might not control the feeling's arrival, but you can influence how long it stays and how much power you give it.
Which ties into his idea of being fully present, right?
Yeah.
Not just being physically there, but mentally and emotionally engaged.
Yes. When you're with someone, be with them. Don't be thinking about last week or what's for dinner or your own worries. He'd say, I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about you.
He contrasted this with how easily we get distracted, like you mentioned the O.J. Simpson trial, pulling people away from their own lives at the time.
Right. Being present with others, but also present with yourself, which
Mm.
allows for that emotional processing and detachment we talked about. And this presence, this awareness, also connects to another crucial lesson.
Forgiveness.
Exactly. The healing power of forgiveness.
What was his take on that?
He urged, forgive yourself before you die, then forgive others. It was vital.
And he had personal experience with the pain of not forgiving, didn't he?
Yes, a very poignant story about an old friend, Norman. Norman had sculpted a bust of Morrie years ago,
Okay.
but there was some kind of falling out, a perceived slight, and Morrie, out of what he called vengeance or stubbornness and pride and vanity, never fully reconciled. He held on to it.
And what happened?
Norman got cancer and died before they could make peace. Morrie deeply regretted it. He said, it pains me now so much I never got to see him, I never got to forgive. It showed him how heavy those unresolved grievances become, especially as time runs out.
That's a powerful warning. And it wasn't just about forgiving others, was it?
No, crucially, it was also about self-forgiveness. We also need to forgive ourselves, he said, for all the things we didn't do, all the things we should have done.
Letting go of regrets.
Yes, don't get stuck on the regrets. Dwelling on them doesn't help when you're facing the end. It's about allowing yourself peace in the present by releasing that self-blame.
So these lessons were profound. How did Mitch Albom actually come back into Morrie's life to receive them?
It was actually quite by chance, or maybe fate. Mitch was flipping through TV channels late one night, and he saw Morrie being interviewed by Ted Koppel on Nightline.
Ah, the famous Nightline interviews.
That's right. And Morrie, dealing with his increasing dependency, was incredibly candid. He said right there on national television that soon, someone's going to have to wipe my ass.
Wow. That's raw honesty.
It was, and that rawness, that vulnerability, it jolted Mitch, pulled him right out of what he called his media thunderstorm, and made him confront what he'd been avoiding his old professor and maybe himself.
Were there other things going on in Mitch's life that made him more receptive then?
Yes, definitely. He was going through his own struggles. There was a big newspaper strike where he worked, which suddenly left him jobless.
That must have been a shock.
It forced him to reevaluate his whole work-obsessed life. He realized, with some astonishment, how easily things went on without me. A stark contrast to his ambition.
Undercutting that sense of indispensability.
Exactly. And there was also something deeply personal and painful. His younger brother, Peter, was battling pancreatic cancer.
Oh, wow.
And Peter was pushing the family away, rejecting their help. Mitch was struggling with how to handle that. Morrie actually helped him process it, gently assuring him, you'll find a way back to your brother, offering hope.
So Mitch was primed, in a way, to hear what Morrie had to say.
I think so. And so he started those weekly visits, Tuesdays.
Tuesdays with Morrie.
Yeah.
And he describes a real transformation in himself during that time.
He really does. He talks about going from someone who consciously avoided Morrie, maybe felt awkward, to someone who was massaging his dying professor's feet, his calloused, curled feet.
Finding a new kind of intimacy and comfort there.
Yes. Things that once made him embarrassed or squeamish, like noticing the catheter bag or having to physically lift Morrie's frail body, they just became routine acts of care, of affection. It solidified that human connection Morrie always talked about.
And from those visits came the book.
Tuesdays with Morrie, published in 1997, and it just became this huge cultural phenomenon.
It really did. It seemed to offer so much comfort to people, especially those dealing with loss, and it encouraged deeper relationships.
Its simplicity and its core message clearly struck a global chord. Millions and millions of copies sold.
But it's interesting, the book wasn't universally loved, was it? It had its critics.
No, it definitely had detractors. While many found it deeply moving, a reminder of universal truths.
Others found it?
Well, some called it saccharine pseudo-intellectual drivel, or pandering and insincere. They felt it lacked depth or wasn't saying anything particularly new or groundbreaking.
That's quite a harsh critique.
It is, but maybe the sheer impact of the book suggests something else. As one commentary put it, maybe these ideas seem obvious to those who are already awake, but they resonate because so many people need to hear those obvious truths again.
Perhaps the power lies in the reminder, delivered through such a personal, vulnerable story.
Could be. The world often drowns out those simpler, deeper truths.
And what about Morrie's own view of his legacy? How did he want to be remembered?
He was very clear about that. He chose his epitaph himself. A teacher to the last.
A teacher to the last. Perfect.
He truly believed that love is how you stay alive, even after you are gone. That our impact continues through the love we share.
And his actual passing?
He didn't want a dramatic ending, and he didn't get one. He died, apparently quite serenely, on a Saturday morning. His immediate family had just stepped out of the room for a moment to get coffee in the kitchen.
It was as if he waited for them to leave.
Mitch suggests that. As if Morrie wanted to spare them that final, chilling moment, just as he himself had perhaps been spared by how he learned of his mother's death or seeing his father's body years later. A final, graceful act of love, maybe even detachment.
Wow. So listening to all this, you've heard Morrie's incredible journey, how he turned dying into this final, really powerful lesson on living.
He showed us that even when we're at our most vulnerable, when everything seems stripped away, we still have something profound to offer.
Not just through big gestures, but through simple presence, love, wisdom.
Yeah. And Morrie made that conscious choice, didn't he? To create his own culture, not just buy what society was selling, especially if it didn't serve him.
He believed if you found meaning in your life, you don't want to go back. You want to go forward.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to consider. What's one deeply held cultural norm in your own life, something you've maybe just accepted, that you might be ready to challenge today?
Or perhaps, what's one meaningless distraction you could let go of to make more space for what truly matters, to invest more deeply, as Morrie urged, in the human family?